I think he's just become more and more comfortable playing the game, playing with these teammates in this system, which kind of sounds a little strange to say for a guy that's been around as long as he has, but I really think when a guy misses as much time as he has, it makes an impact. And I think you see a guy that's just continued to work and is playing his best football.
I'm curious with the explosive play aspect of things that we talked a lot about that early in the season. How have you seen that develop over the course of the year where now those explosive plays at least feel like they're much more common?
Just being stubborn, I think. I've been on a couple of teams where we didn't really have the sort of playmakers that I felt like were as fortunate to make those kind of plays. And so I kind of quit calling them as much, and we really tried to become a more methodical offense that could move the ball 15, 18 play drives and really execute well for a long, sustained period of time. But that's not the case with our team. And so we've just continued to try to find ways to work on it and get it better. And, we're still not hitting all of them. I mean, we had a couple that we missed. But you don't have to hit them all. If you hit a couple, then I think it has a chance to change the game.
Jalen was asked after the game on Saturday, if that was the offense he expected to see, and he said sure, but also what you just said, we still left a lot of plays out there. I mean, is there time still to kind of get to that point where he feels like, hey, this is the offense and we're going to hit those? And I know you just said you can't hit them all, but is there enough time, I guess, is the question?
Enough time to do what?
Just to kind of get to that point where you feel like this is the offense we thought we'd all see this year. Or are you there?
I don't know. We had, the most yards that defense has given up in a long time, and I got a lot of respect for John Haycock and that defense. And so, are we there? I would never say we're there, but I think we're becoming what we thought we could be. And really, if you look back and a lot of our conversations early in the season, I probably sounded like a broken record, continuing to talk about explosive plays and hurting ourselves, in particular at that point with turnovers. But there were a couple of games where we had some really costly penalties that killed drives as well. And we're just not doing those things. And so when you don't, especially when you're an offense like us, where you're not trying to play with tempo, it limits your drives. And so I like to look at your points per possession more than your total offense or your total. I think total offense means something, but I think yards per play and EPA and some of those advanced stats mean even more. Points per possession, I think, means more than total points sometimes. But when you're an offense like ours, if you have some of those big mistakes, especially if you give the ball up, then you're eliminating those opportunities. And so I think we're beginning to see, really for the last month, what's happened when we don't do that, give ourselves a chance.
When you guys get into potential 4-down territory, what's that communication like? Is it something where, hey, first down, you find out you have 4 downs, third down, it's, hey, if you get them so many yards, you may have a 4th down. What's that process like?
Lance is really good about communicating with me and letting me know, typically certainly at the beginning of the drive, what he's thinking, and then made first downs, because the number changes as you get towards certain places on the field. But he does a good job communicating with me, so I typically know what I'm looking at before I get to third down.
Jeff, what do you see from BYU on film?
I got a lot of respect for these guys. I worked with Kalani and a lot of the guys that are on this staff and have a real deep respect and strong positive feelings. Guys that I would consider really good friends on that staff and really good coaches. And some of the guys I didn't work with, Jay Hill, I've known for years, just my time being in Utah. And so there are a lot of guys who do a great job, and you see that. You've really seen a dramatic improvement in their defense since Jay's taken over. I think it starts with what they do up front. They got big physical guys who play a rugged brand of football at their first and second level, their linebackers, their defensive line. And then they've got some guys in the back end that have experience and can cover and not afraid to come up and hit you. So I think their talent is good. I think the system is really good. Jay's a guy with Utah background, just like Kalani was, and so back their time with Coach Whittingham and that defense is sort of the root of it. He comes from that same tree, and so you see a lot of the things that are the same as the way Utah plays defense, and I've played against that a few times. But there's some differences in the way that he's calling it and what they're leaning into now. But very multiple in their alignments up front, can line up in a variety of different personnel groups, and then within those groups line up in different ways, give you about every imaginable front type that you could imagine, a variety of pressures, and then really all types of coverage as well, zone as well as man. And so just from that standpoint, it'll be a real challenge. But I think as much as anything, I respect the way they play the game. They play really, really hard, and they play tough, and they play physical, and so I like that. I'm looking forward to it.
What did you see from Calvin Clemens when he came in?
I thought he did a solid job, first time in a while in that position, and came in and didn't seem like the moment was too big for him, and I feel like he's continued to get better this year, so I think he was ready for it.
You've talked about how Jalen's quote unquote maybe knocking the rust off. Did any of that ever apply to you, that maybe you settled into, saying, all right, this is who we are, this is what we can do?
Yeah, I think there's always an element of that as a coach. Every team takes on its own personality, and every offense does that. And I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes things that you think you might be able to do, for some reason, they just don't come together in the same way in that given year. And there are some plays or some general concepts that I would have thought that we would have been better at, that we sort of found out as we worked down the road. There's other things that we have been better at, and so as the season's gone on, we've worked to evolve and grow in those areas. And so, yeah, I think if you don't do that, is if you're a coach and you just say, all right, this is my playbook, and so you guys learn these plays, and then if it doesn't work, then it's your fault. And I think that's a really faulty model. I think a good carpenter doesn't complain about his tools. He makes the most of his tools, and I hope that I'm able to do that.
You able to offer much insight into the environment these guys are going into? A lot of them haven't seen that.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I forgot about this. I was talking with one of my former colleagues last night about it. 2 years ago, we were down there and in a really tough game. Hadn't played particularly well, but found ourselves in overtime with a chance to win it. Had a 1st and goal on the 5 and had 2 false starts right there in front of their student section, and then got backed up and didn't score. Mm-hmm. And so we have talked about that as a staff, and we've talked about it with the players.
What do you remember about it other than that noise you maybe just alluded to there? Just the environment as a whole.
It's just a great place to play football. It's a beautiful setting, one of the most beautiful in all of college football, and I've been to a lot. The fans are passionate and know when to get loud, and it'll be a raucous environment for sure.
Looking at their secondary, they've got a lot of interception production. What has allowed them to do that? And then B, have you seen other defenses with this type of production where it's almost like 2 interceptions a game during Big 12 play?
Yeah, I think part of it is the pass rush. I think part of it is being in position, whether it be 3rd and long, putting the offense in a 3rd and long position, or being up late in the game and it's a 2-minute situation. I mean, we've seen that on our end as well. In those situations, you're just more prone to do that because you're more apt to throw the football and you got to push it down the field in those situations. So I think that's been part of it because they've played good team football and they found themselves in an advantageous position a number of times. And then I think their pass rush has been a big part of it. They're able to get pressure with at times just rushing 3 or 4. And then I think they do a really good job of mixing up the coverage. You know, it's not like, okay, we're in a 2-minute drive and so this is all going to be cover 2 now. You know, it might be cover 2 and then it's 2-man and then it's cover 1 and then it's cover 3 and then they drop 8. And so they make it challenging on your quarterback, and you know, you get a little bit of pressure and you think this is going to be open, then you throw in the coverage. There's been a number of those where the ball's just thrown up in the coverage.
You got Daniel Highshaw back this past week. What did you see from him?
You know, what you usually see from him, a real toughness and competitiveness, but probably not quite his full self yet. And hopefully this Saturday night he will be. But we got a number of guys that are banged up and playing through being banged up, as everybody does this time of year. But I really respect that about him and a bunch of our guys who are playing through some injuries, and a lot of them nobody really knows about.
Before we get too far away from it, what your thoughts on just being a part of Devin's milestone?
Yeah, it was really cool. I told him afterwards, like in the locker room, I'm watching him and just seeing that look on his face, and I just gave him a big hug and just told him I was felt blessed to be a small part of it, and just so proud of him, and it's fitting.
You knew he needed the 7 yards. Did you tell him well in advance what play you were going to call first and give him a crack to get it over with first carry?
No, I didn't. I usually don't decide. On Wednesday and Thursday, I kind of start thinking about what my opening list of plays is going to be, and as I'm working my way through that, you know, I'm still evaluating what we're doing best in practice, and still watching the other team and how they start games, and then I usually don't pick the first play until sometime Friday, usually Friday night, because I've got my list of runs, list of passes, and then I don't know, sometimes it just kind of falls together. But yeah, it was cool. It was a big run. Yeah, it was a neat moment. Everybody good? All right, good to see y'all.